This is far from a new phenomenon, but it's just extremely common where people will immediately pass judgment on something based purely on just what the headline says. If it's only 10 words, that's the only 10 words they need to see in order for them to form their full opinion on it without knowing even a single iota of detail around it. And today, a buddy of mine sent me this. And before I read the headline, I thought that picture there was just McLovin playing a new character or something. Then I read the headline, "Pet owner forced driver who killed his dog to dig dog's grave at gunpoint. I should shoot for it." And my friend sent this to me saying that it is sad that this guy is about to go to the slammer for a long time for this, most likely. Basically just sympathizing and saying that, pets are members of the family, so his reaction is understandable. Hopefully he doesn't, have his whole life ruined because of this negligent driver who hit and killed his dog. It's entirely, the driver's fault. And I have dogs. I love dogs. I've grown up with pets my whole life. I do treat them like members of the family. So it's easy to see a headline like this and get emotionally invested in it. And I saw a lot of YouTubers and stuff commented on it saying, "Based, he's done nothing wrong. Free this man right now. This is super rational and justifiable." So naturally I did what I thought was normal as the next step, reading the story. Because I thought with so many people commenting on it with such strong condemnation of the driver and support for Alberto Joshua Hernandez, this must be a pretty clear, open and shut case of the driver being fully in the wrong here. This guy must have just been a lunatic flying down the road. He ramps himself off of a parked tow truck, Dukes of Hazzard style, and just flies in like a fucking missile and blasts this man's beloved pet on the sidewalk. But that's not the case at all. It's extremely clear after learning more about what actually happened here that everyone who's commented showing support for Alberto didn't bother to read beyond the headline, because this guy's a fucking psychopath.
Police documents say that he forced the victim to dig a grave, withdraw money from an ATM to compensate him, and reveal a home address. Now, according to an arrest document obtained by our team here at KLTV and KTRE through an open records request, the victim went to police station for a voluntary interview.
Not going to play too much from the news coverage of it because, again, I recently just had a big hoopla for showing a news clip. So I'll just show this very brief section. But the driver had been driving home. He had hit the animal. He then pulled over, and he then even tried to fix his bumper. But after hitting the animal, he stopped, he pulled over, and pretty soon after, that's when Alberto arrived in his truck, which leads me to believe the dog was not leashed or anything. It doesn't seem like he was walking the dog and it got away from him or anything. That's not how it reads here. Seems like the dog was completely unattended, just roaming free on the road willy-nilly. Alberto arrived pretty soon after the hit, it seems, and pulls the gun on the driver and then orders him to carry the dog's body to his backyard. He takes his phone and everything, his keys, so that way there's no chance for him to escape or wiggle his way out of it. He then digs that grave. Alberto goes inside, grabs another gun, and then forces the driver to take both of them to an ATM to withdraw money to compensate for the dog. Alberto, after receiving the money from the driver after going to the ATM, then takes a picture of his driver's license and warns him that he might be hearing from him again for more compensation if he feels it wasn't enough. And then the driver goes to the police, and that brings us to this story. So, here's a nice little, write-up on it, the bullet points here from a Twitter user who broke it all down. To me, this sounds like a guy who found a convenient excuse to rob somebody. I don't see how anyone could make a sound argument that his robbing the guy and then threatening to rob him at a later date after getting all of his information is in line with a justifiable response to what seems to be purely an accident, where a dog that was not attended by Alberto or Alberto's mother, completely off-leash on its own, running out in the road. I don't see how anyone could say that Alberto's reaction to that is rational. He's either a dog shit pet owner who just lets his animals roam around freely, or the dog unfortunately got out from the backyard or the front door or something and then ran off unattended into the road. And that kind of thing fucking sucks, but it is an accident. It doesn't sound like the driver is doing anything malicious or evil. It's not like the driver just drove off after hitting the dog he didn't have a care in the world. He just puts it pedal to the metal yeah, celebrating, I just killed that dog, 2 thumbs up, whoopee, or anything like that. The driver did pull over. after hitting the animal, he pulled over, he got out, apparently even tinkered with his bumper. And then, I do think the timing is interesting, how Alberto just happens to pull up at the scene here, pretty soon after the animal got hit. That's so odd to me. Now, another person that happened to arrive at the scene was the mother. According to the news report, the mom also arrived there and witnessed her son with the AR.
The two then drove back, and the affidavit goes on to say that the victim's mother had come to the scene and parked near the victim's vehicle. She saw Hernandez with his rifle, according to documents. Police say that the video from the ATM shows the victim withdrawing the money and then handing it to a passenger who was holding a gun.
Something seems very fishy here to me. Now, it seems like they were still close to the residence here, considering that the driver was ordered to carry the dog back, so that leads me to believe he walked the dog's body to the house. So, if that's the case, why is Alberto just hanging out in the truck watching the dog run around freely? It'd be crazy timing, a crazy coinkydink if he just happened to pull up right after the dog got hit near the house. There's just something about the timing in all of this and the way that he handled it after the fact, where he literally robs the fucking guy at gunpoint and then threatens to come back at a later date to take more money, that just paints a very different picture than a dog owner who's just overcome with like grief and trauma after his dog got hit, that he now pulls a gun and asks the guy to dig a grave. It's very different when you get the whole scope of what actually happened here. And you know what? I'm just going to let it rip. I'm going to be honest and say what I thought when I finished learning about all of this. It almost sounds like it was a setup. It almost sounds like this was by design here. That Alberto would let the dog run around freely here, staying close by, so that way if someone did hit the animal, it makes it very easy for them to kind of swoop in and immediately capitalize off of the person who's probably already shaken up about hitting a fucking dog, and then put a gun in their face and start demanding money, this and that. Like, I think there is definitely that possibility. I'm going to be honest. That's how it kind of read to me after I learned more about how this happened, after the headlines painted as this dog owner pulled a gun after this traumatic incident. It's definitely a little different once you hear more about it. But the crazy thing is, even the people that do get the full context, because I saw, like, even that comment there that broke it all down, people under that were like, he's definitely in the right, doing the clapping emoji. So he's innocent. Good. People just so willing to excuse kidnapping, robbery at gunpoint, and the threat of more robberies in the future, all because, at best, this was an accident where the dog got away and unfortunately ran out in the middle of the road that a driver couldn't stop in time and unfortunately hit. But again, there's no evidence to suggest the driver was doing anything malicious. No evidence that he was impaired, not paying attention, or driving recklessly, anything like that. Pulled over, everything. But at worst, I think this could be legitimately like a setup from Alberto, or he's just a dog shit pet owner who lets his animals roam around unleashed. That is also on the table too, because that's becoming very common, where people don't leash their pets, and then it's everyone else's fault if something happens. I just find that perspective of people still okay with his response to this, robbing him at gunpoint and then threatening to rob him more in the future after taking a picture of his driver's license so he got all of the personal information on the guy so he could go back at a later date and steal more. I find people that think that's okay and rational to just be scarily deluded, just so disconnected from reality. I love dogs, and I would do anything for my pets, and if something happened to them, I would be beyond angry. But if something happened to them because of my own negligence, like if one of my dogs somehow got out and ran in the road and got hit, I would be more angry at myself than the driver in that case. Assuming, of course, the driver wasn't, impaired or doing something like reckless and wrong, That is on me. And the literal last thing going through my noodle there is robbery. Like, how am I going to now rob this person? How am I going to get them to take me to an ATM so they can withdraw money for me? And then also I need to make sure I get photos of their driver's license so I have all this information so I can come back at a later date and get more. Like, that would not be something that would be going through my head in the grieving process. And I don't think it would for most sane people. But we continue to get more insane every single day. So there are hundreds of posts just like this one with open support of Alberto Hernandez, even knowing full well about the robbery at gunpoint and the threat of more robberies in the future. Like, this one says it's a warning to the lawless and careless when society fails to protect innocent lives, dog, children, and decent citizens. Americans will take matters into their own hands. You fucking goober, it's his fault. That dog was roaming around completely alone, unattended, no leash, no nothing, in the middle of the fucking road. He's the one that failed to protect the innocent life of the dog. That's his failure. The driver unfortunately hit the dog, but did pull over. Didn't just like leave the scene or anything. It wasn't lawless or careless or anything. He fucking pulled over and then stayed around and even like worked on his car there. Like, what are you even yapping about? There are so many people like this, though, where because this man's dog was hit and killed, it now entitles him, in their eyes, to murder that guy and then take all of his money. Like, he is totally justified in their eyes to do that, even though it is his fault that that happened in the first place. If his dog was leashed, that wouldn't have happened. If he did a better job of monitoring his dog, if it, like, got out, it wouldn't have happened. And you know what that's called when that happens? A fucking accident. It's crazy, the state that we've devolved to, where people just look at things so black and white. This guy's dog was hit, now he can kill. In fact, he should kill. And if he does, there's nothing wrong with that, I support it. That blows my fucking mind. Especially because I already know beyond a shadow of a doubt, these same people will turn around and insult others for not leashing their dogs, like at the park, like if they have a pit bull or something, which is extremely irresponsible. Like, not leashing your dog around others, I think that is completely inexcusable. And I imagine all of these people right now would agree. Yet in this case, they just plugged their ears to that piece of information about the dog being completely alone here to just roam the streets by itself. It doesn't matter to them now, because now the dog is unfortunately dead, so that means the dog owner must be totally within his right to rob at gunpoint and potentially rob further at later dates the person that was driving the car, whom I don't believe was fully responsible for this, because it seems like a fucking accident where the dog, being, again, alone, not under the care of the pet owner or anything, ran in the middle of the road and unfortunately got hit. And the driver, again, did pull over and everything and was still there at the scene. So I really feel like everyone that's like saying based and super supportive of Alberto here either didn't read the story or are just so fucking far gone mentally that it's scary. Anyway, I just had to yap about this a bit because I was stunned. Like, I can't even really be mad at my friend who sent it because it is so normal to not read beyond the headlines, but Jiminy Christmas, it's out of control, because you just had to read like maybe 4 paragraphs to get like more information about exactly what happened and why he was arrested. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.